Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Advisor with Stacey Chillemi. And today I'm very excited because we have a very special guest today. He is the one and the only Steven Ferguson, and has a great story today. He's going to talk about the transition from going from the veteran life, let me start over again. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Advisor with Stacey Chillemi. And I'm very happy to have a very special guest with us today. His name is Steven Ferguson, and he is here to talk about the transition going from military life to civilian life. And he's going to talk about some of the things that happened along the way in his journey and how he was able to finally get himself to transition over and become really successful in a really positive way. So, Stephen, I am so happy to have you here, and your story sounds amazing, and I'd love to hear more about it. So, can you tell everybody a little about yourself and what you do? I want to hear about your story because you told me a little about it, and it's just so amazing how you went from one extremity to where you are now in life.
Yeah, I enlisted in the Marine Corps when I was 18 out of Syracuse, New York, and I went down to Parris Island, South Carolina, went to boot camp for that 13 weeks, found myself stationed in North Carolina with 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines as a infantry anti-tank missileman. And from there, I deployed twice to Afghanistan with 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines. And once more, I deployed to Europe on a crisis response mission. And it was a great time. It taught me a lot of things. I went through some stuff, and to be honest, the amount of stuff that it taught me and prepared me for life following on was amazing. After my time with 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines, I went to the School of Infantry over on the West Coast at Camp Pendleton,
Hmm.
and I was a combat instructor for the infantry training battalion over there. I ended up training, I think it was about 1,600 infantry Marines during that time, which is just a little bit more than a full battalion's worth of infantry Marines.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am. Um,
There's so many people that tell me that I've spoken to that when they lived in the military life, they learned so many valuable skills and, they were able to use those skills in the military and really do a lot of good for our country. But once they became a veteran and they came back to civilian life, the transition from going from military to civilian life was very difficult. Did you find it a very difficult transition going from one extremity to the next?
It was extremely challenging. It was one of the most difficult things that I've ever done, probably the most difficult thing that I've ever done. The difference in culture from military culture to civilian culture, they really couldn't be more different. And not only that, you go from having this close-knit group of uh, friends and coworkers that you see every day, and there's just something about the bond you develop when you go through something extremely difficult with a group of people. The bond and the friendship that you end up building is incredible. And then you transition to the civilian world, and you're not working with those same people anymore. It can become incredibly lonely, and that loneliness can lead to some dark places. In addition to the stressors of being in a completely new cultural environment and having to adapt to the civilian world, which from a civilian looking at the military side of things and not really understanding what's going on.
Yeah.
It's the same thing for military going to the civilian world. It's just they couldn't be more different, and acclimatizing to that new culture is extremely challenging. And then you add on top of that potential mental health issues that have stemmed from deployments or anything else you might have experienced in the military, and it really leads to this kind of perfect storm that can be incredibly trying.
I know for me, when I've written for a veterans magazine, and before I started, I didn't know a lot about military life. And when I started talking to these veterans, they would tell me stories about how when they did their tours and they did their deployments, some of them were on the front line, some of them, saw, babies dead on the road, some of them, really saw some traumatic events that really stuck with them. Some of them, the sounds of guns going off and some of the things they had to endure, was really trying to them. And a lot of them ended up with post-traumatic stress disorder. Some of them ended up in depression. And in the New York area, they did a survey and they found that a lot of the people who were homeless were actually military officers, but they got to a point where they didn't know how to cope with civilian life. And a lot of them just ended up trying to use drugs to cope with those emotions and not because they couldn't find the help they needed. And they ended up homeless and they just, a lot of them just, just didn't felt like there was nowhere to, they didn't to turn. And, for you, did you when you came out and you had to endure all these challenges of going from one extreme to the next, did it leave you with some mental health issues that you had to battle to overcome? Or some, because a lot of times mental health issues could even lead to physical issues. 70% of illnesses are caused by stress. And I think it's just a good topic just to slightly talk about because I think people need to be aware because I feel I think our United States needs to help veterans. And did you feel that, going from one extreme to the next was really trying? Did it leave you with some issues that you had to overcome? Because you did overcome it because you're at a point now, your story is incredible where what you're doing right now. But in the process of this journey, did you have things that you really had to overcome and it left you with some challenges?
Yes, I did. I was actually medically retired due to post-traumatic stress disorder. And at the time I was also diagnosed with major depressive disorder as well. And so when I was retired, I had done a substantial amount of work with Navy medicine before actually being retired and transitioned into the civilian world and transitioned to the VA for follow-on care. And the first 2 weeks of my civilian life, I felt pretty good. I felt on top of the world, you know.
Mhm.
I didn't necessarily want to get out of the military at that point in time, but I'd accepted it as being the right time to get out of the military. But after those 2 weeks, things started to set in, you know, the lack of my friends being around, the culture being completely different. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life at the time. I applied to Starbucks to be a barista, and they told me to, nah, go someplace else and work, you know. And I'd also experienced about 3 months previous to that, I experienced one of my very close friends taking his life. And that was it completely upended my entire plan with my life. I was on track to be an EMT, going to school to be a medic, and I was wanting to go to medical school to become a surgeon and go to war-torn countries and just help people
Yeah,
because I felt I had the skills to survive in a war zone and I wanted to go
right.
help people. But
Yeah,
with my friend's suicide and then transitioning, everything just started to fall apart on me. I ended up in a very, very dark place. I felt like I was slowly drowning with all of the pressures and the mental anguish that I was going through. You know, I
yeah,
was doing what the VA said I should. I was going to see a psychologist with the VA. They gave me, antidepressants, but they didn't really do what they were meant to do, you know.
right. Yeah. I think that's a really tough time because when you go through obstacles, it's sometimes it's really challenging and if you don't get the right help, and medicine is not always the right help. You need more than that, you know. It can be very challenging, but how did you learn how to overcome it? Because you've gotten to a point where, you are now on top of the hill and you're really doing well for yourself. But during that process, how did you go from one extreme to the next?
So working with that psychologist did give me a lot of tools that were supposed to help. But there was a missing piece to the puzzle there, and
Yeah.
I had an inkling that it was a service dog. Um, you know,
Hmm.
uh, and so I went to the VA and asked them for a service dog, and they said, "Well, there's no evidence to suggest that it's going to help with your PTSD, so no." And I was like, well, that's crazy. Dude, I am so much better when I'm around a dog, but right on. I'll see if
Yeah.
I can find a nonprofit. And I did. There's quite a few nonprofits out there doing a lot of great work, but they're so overwhelmed with the demand. Their wait lists are 24 to 36 months, and then they have to train the
Wow.
dog. So we're looking, 2 years minimum up to
Oh, wow.
4 years for a dog. And when you're in crisis like I was, that was just completely untenable.
Yeah.
So I kind of had to take matters into my own hands. I adopted a border collie I named her Venus. She is the sweetest girl in the world. And I she was amazingly easy to train. I had no idea what I was doing. I
Yeah.
had I had the help of some volunteers, some folks that helped me to train her, but I
Hmm.
truly went into it, no idea what I was doing.
Right.
And I honestly ended up just blessed that my dog was so easy to train because, I taught her sit down, stay, and how to heel, and she figured out everything else that I needed on her own. It's the
Wow.
craziest thing. And
Yeah.
she still, to this day, every time, I still have anxiety from time to time,
Yeah.
and she'll come and she'll just start to, she'll lean up against me. She'll paw at my leg, just getting my attention. And it's enough of that break to get me out of that mindset. And she taught herself that. And it was just crazy. But what she was able to do for me, like as a whole, was create this safe space for me to do the real difficult internal work with the tools that I had learned from the psychologist,
Yeah.
as well as just being a constant, she is there for me no matter what, every day we go out that door, she doesn't know where we're going, but she's just happy to be there. And there's no place else she'd rather be than with me. And it made all the difference in the world to me when I was in my darkest place.
Oh, I love that. And it's amazing because there's been so many articles written by psychologists about how dogs, there's a smell when we have anxiety or we go through depression or we go through anything, even if we don't feel good, if we have a cold, our smell changes. And we can't smell that smell, but dogs are able to tell that smell. So they know when you're not feeling well. They know if you have anxiety. They know if you have a cold. They know if you're not feeling good. And right away, they have that care and instinct to try to help you. And you'll notice that if you really pay attention, when you don't feel 100%, you'll notice that your dog will start to like kind of curl up against you, or like you said, their paw against you, and they will try to comfort you because they know. And it's amazing how dogs sense these things. But dogs can be a real comfort and they can be a real help to people when they're going through different types of things. Now, when you had this dog, when you have this dog right now, you know, what type of improvement did you see? Like, was it right away? Did you feel like you felt like less anxiety? You felt, like what changes happened once you started to interact and have your dog in your life?
So something that I noticed immediately was that, this dog was always with me, and she was just like, I was, it, it was clear to me that she cared a lot about me very
Yeah.
early on.
Yeah.
And that was probably the most impactful thing early on in the journey. And then as our bond developed and we started to go different places, the bond strengthened. And another way that she helped me was before I got her, it was difficult to even necessarily like go to the grocery store. And so I spent a lot of time indoors, and being indoors, not great for depression,
Oh,
anxiety,
yeah.
PTSD.
Yes.
And so it was really this sort of negative reinforcement loop where things were just getting worse and worse. And because they were getting worse, I was doing the things that made them worse. But
Yeah.
now I have this dog who I absolutely adore and love. And it really forced me to step outside of my comfort zone and start going back outside again. because this dog, I mean, she doesn't deserve to just, I mean, she would just sit there and chill in our apartment if that's what we were doing. But
Yeah.
I would just look at her and think, I have got to get out that door and I have got to take her on a walk because
Yes.
she deserves it.
Yeah.
She doesn't deserve to just sit there. And so I would force myself to start, you know, putting myself in positions that I didn't want to be in.
Right.
And that in and of itself was a part of the healing mechanism because now all of a sudden I'm taking her on walks, maybe not going to the grocery store so much yet.
Yeah.
Um, but it did eventually lead to that point where now, we go to the airport, fly someplace, we go on vacations, we drive all over the place. I don't have that same level of anxiety or blockage keeping me from going out and being a member of society anymore. And it's thanks to her and her, basically pushing me out of my comfort zone and giving me a reason to push myself out of my comfort zone.
God, I love that. That is amazing. That is truly amazing. Now, she helped you push you out of yourself, out of that comfort zone, and you were actually able to become an entrepreneur and you started your own business, which is truly amazing. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, so I came to this place of healing, probably mostly healing. There's still there's ongoing healing. There probably will be for the rest of my life.
Right.
But I was looking back on how difficult it was to get this service dog that was like all the difference in the world. It was the missing piece of the puzzle, and I needed to find a way to get veterans easier access to service dogs. And
Yeah.
you know, I'm a Marine Corps veteran that I live off of my military retirement. I can only afford so much. So I had
Right.
to find a way to do that. Well, the natural answer to that is to build a business, to
Mhm.
generate the money, to
Right.
get the money to pay for the service dogs. And so from that, I founded Honor Guard Coffee, and we donate a quarter of our profits from the sale of
Yeah.
specialty coffee
Hmm.
to pairing veterans with service dogs. And it's been an amazing journey putting it together.
Yeah.
Sometimes not so amazing. It's been a struggle at
Yeah.
times, but
Yeah.
I think the mission is worth it. The mission is worth everything because there's a suicide crisis in the
Oh,
veteran
yeah.
community right now.
100%.
16.8 veterans a day, which is insane.
Wow, that is insane. I didn't realize I knew they had a large suicide rate, but I didn't realize it was that high. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And service dogs are not the cure all. They're not going to completely stop that, but I believe that they are a vital piece of the puzzle of the answer to ending this crisis.
Right.
And so, yeah, that is the founding story of Honor Guard Coffee. Um,
So tell me a little about the coffee and tell me how when you started this, like what type of coffees do you offer and tell us a little about the company itself.
Yeah. So we are a specialty grade coffee company. So that means everything has a cupping score of 80 and higher.
Hmm.
Um, if if nobody knows what a cupping score is, that's fine. I'm the CEO of the company and I barely understand it. It's on a scale of 0 to 100. Folgers is like 40,
Yeah.
and specialty grade coffee is 80 and above. All of our coffee is 80 and above. We have let's see here. We have some single origins. We've got a single origin from Bali, which is my absolute favorite. It is incredibly flavorful. Um, we have a single origin from Costa Rica,
Mhm.
and we have another single origin, and I always forget this one. Um, but we source all of our coffee from small family farms from around the world, Costa Rica, Bali. We have
Yeah.
some blends that we put together.
Right.
We make sure that it's all, ethically sourced because we don't want to be taking advantage of anybody.
Yeah.
Um, let's see here. We we roast the stuff to order. So, if you place an order today, we're gonna roast it tomorrow and have it shipped straight to your
Oh,
door.
wow. That's
So
awesome.
it doesn't sit in a warehouse anywhere. It just straight roasted straight to your door. So it'll be, Short of getting a roasting machine and roasting it yourself, it'll be the freshest coffee you've ever had.
Wow. And right now, during the holidays, you said you were offering her a discount. And you tell us a little about that discount for people.
Yeah, so right now, the holiday sale that's going on, if you spend $40, you're getting 10% off. If you spend $80, you're getting 15% off. And if you spend 100, you get 20% off. Um, and yeah, it would be a great time to pick up some coffee and give it a try. Guarantee you'll like it. If you don't like it, just email support, which actually is just my inbox, and I'll give you a refund. Or you can keep the coffee. I'll give you a refund if you don't like it.
Oh, wow. I love that. And you said that you give a certain percentage to the VA, right? You donate money to the VA. What were you saying
So
earlier?
we take a quarter of the profits from the sale of coffee, and we actually donate it to nonprofits that are out there
Okay.
doing the work. The VA, they're still kind of dragging their heels on the
Yeah.
service dog thing,
Right, right.
but there are loads of nonprofits out there that, a lot of them are struggling for financing. They have the trainers, they have the facilities. Um, they need the money to conduct the operation and get the service dogs trained up, paid for the food for the dogs,
Yeah.
what have you. And
Wow.
so, yeah, a quarter of our profits are going to nonprofits dedicated to training service dogs for veterans and then pairing those service dogs with veterans.
Oh, that is so amazing. That is such a great thing that you're doing, and even for me, I have epilepsy and one of the, I'm seizure free right now, but one of the biggest things that really triggered seizures was stress. And I gotta say, I have two Shih Tzus, and those two Shih Tzus, when they know something is wrong, they start coming over to me, they start cuddling with me, and just having the comfort of a dog that will love you unconditionally and be there for you, you could see the level of stress like decrease. And it's just having dogs are amazing, and dogs sense so many things. And there's different breeds that are smarter and more trainable. But I got to tell you, like even Shih Tzus, and people make fun, they say they might not be the brightest of breeds. They know when things aren't 100%, and they come to me and they comfort me and they show me love and affection, and they'll even try to give me little kisses on my cheek. And I got to tell you, service dogs are great. And I remember back in the day when my seizures weren't controlled, I was at someone's house and I had a seizure and I fell to the ground and I woke up and I was in a shepherd's mouth. And the shepherd was trained by police officers. And he was grabbing me by my shirt and he was pulling me up and down, because he was trying to bring me to consciousness. I woke up and I was in this shepherd's mouth and I'm like looking up and I'm like, like, oh my God. But he was not being, he just wanted to help me. So he was trying to bring me to consciousness. And his idea of bringing me to consciousness was to shake me a little bit. And I thought that was amazing. And as soon as he saw me open my eyes, he just gently put me down on the floor. And I was like, wow. I was like, that is truly amazing. Like dogs are so wonderful. And I remember times when my son, my in-laws had a shepherd, and he used to get on the shepherd's back, and the shepherd, he would hold on to the shepherd's ear as a toddler, and the shepherd would like walk around the house and give him rides because he knew it brought him happiness. Do you know what I mean? Like dogs are amazing. They really want, when they care about people, they will go to the any extent to help that person. And they're like family. They're like humans. To me, I look at them. I know they're not humans, but they're pretty similar to humans. They function just like humans. You'll see them talk in dog language to humans. And anything a human can come down with, so can a dog. So to me, they're very human-like individuals, and I feel like service dogs are so important. And especially if you're going through things and you need a service dog, I am with you 100%. And I am so proud that you're trying to help others get those service dogs, and you're hitting those nonprofits, and you have this company where you built a business after going through all these struggles and you overcame them. You got through all the obstacles. Now you're an entrepreneur. Now you have a really successful coffee business, and you're giving 25% of that coffee business, to nonprofits, and you're helping others so they could have, the comfort of a service dog or anything that that they need so they can move forward in life. So I really commend you. So if people want to get in touch with you and they want to try your coffee out, where can they go to find this wonderful coffee?
So we have a website, honorguardcoffee.com. If you Google search us, we come up, we fill up like the whole first page, you know. We are also on Instagram, honor guard underscore coffee, and Facebook, just honor guard coffee. Um, you know, if you happen to be somebody who's on LinkedIn, we're on there too. I'm not on LinkedIn too terribly much, but it is there. Um, and you know, any of the support email or even the chat on the website that goes directly to my phone. So you know, if you're not just talking to some robot or
Right.
what have you, it's actually it's me on the other end of the thing talking to you there.
I love that.
And again, we have a winter sale going, a holiday sale going on right now where you can save up to 20% on your coffee.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And so from our discussion, before we go, are there some takeaways that you really like to emphasize to the listeners? Because we talked about a lot of different things. We talked about from how you began, your life at, 18 going into the military, into the Marine Corps, to how you overcame and how you actually got to where you are now as a successful entrepreneur. What are some of the things you'd like to emphasize to the individuals today from our discussion?
Yeah, one thing that I'd like to emphasize is that I know that you folks really want to help veterans, and I see it in my day-to-day interactions with people, and I see it when I talk to people about this company that I built to do so.
Yeah.
Um, and what I get the sense is that a lot of people don't know how to do it.
Right.
And my my recommendation would be to find a small community, like grassroots organization that's led by a veteran that is trying to, you know, to address some issue for veterans. There's a lot of them out there. You know, maybe connect with the local VFW or the American Legion is a great resource. You know, they'll connect you with the folks out there that are trying to make a difference in veterans' lives. And, you know, I can't solve this suicide crisis alone. I really need the help of the American people, and the veteran community needs the help of the American people to end this crisis. So plug into the communities where you can. Those grassroots movements, they really need support because they, you know, early in their startup period, it's incredibly difficult. It can get very discouraging for the folks trying to run it.
Yeah.
Um, and that would be my biggest recommendation is to connect with those local organizations that are trying to make a difference.
Wow. Thank you so much. And once again, tell everybody your website address so they have it.
Yes, it's honorguardcoffee.com.
I love it. Stephen, thank you so much for coming on this show. And I would just like to say thank you for all your years of serving in the Marine Corps. Thank you for doing what you do. And I just want to commend you for having the strength to overcome your obstacles. You didn't get stuck. You kept fighting to better yourself and overcome, everything that came in your way, and you did. And now you have this successful company, and now you're using, some of the funds from your company to help others. So I just want to say thank you because you really are an example of what, people, should be like, not only, you had you served, you had the strength to overcome your obstacles. Now you've overcome them, you're doing great things and you're giving back to society. So for that, from my heart, I truly want to just say thank you. Thank you for who you are and thank you for what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And you
Mhm.
have a great day. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and I hope that you'll come back in the future.
Yes, ma'am. Take care.
You too. You have a great day.
You as well.